Okay, it's going. It's working. All right. I just had to close that window, and yeah, it wasn't going to let me stream two places simultaneously. So, guys, we're redirecting to YouTube now. Okay, we are now live. We're on screen. We're live. So, guys, welcome to another industry interview. Sorry for a couple of things. We had to change the time because we do always work around the schedule of our guests who give up their time for free to come and talk to us about all things in their aspect of the creative industries. Secondly, we were not able to do this stream on StreamYard, our usual modium, so I can't put up all the flash graphics and intros and things, but totally worth it to put up with those little minor inconsistencies to have our wonderful guest on today. He is both a stuntman, a stunt coordinator, and a second unit director with no less than 222 credits on IMDb for just one of those categories. I think if I added them all together, they'd be well over 300 and something. I've also got a great co-host with me, my brother from another mother, as he often likes to put it, Australian film director Matthew Holmes, who's currently in post-production on his latest feature film. Of course, you may know him from The Legend of Ben Hall, and his other feature film, The Cost, is currently doing the rounds of film festivals, and I've had the privilege of seeing that, and it's a fantastic movie. So welcome back, Matt. Thanks again for coming in and co-hosting on this. I know it's very early where you are.
No worries.
And last but by no means least, our guest, Allan Graf, who is currently in LA, and has agreed to come on before he shoots off onto another job, still working at the sprightly age of 70-something. Allan, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Glad to be here.
Well, yes. Let's just sort of start at the beginning. I think I'm right in saying that your career you started off in professional American football, and then you were on a set and a film set, and I think you got a little job, and it was an assistant director, and I know this guy because I've heard his name before. It was Pat Kehoe.
Pat Kehoe, yes.
And he said, "Do you want to come and meet the director of this movie on this set?" And that director was Walter Hill, but sitting next to him was producer Frank Marshall and producer Larry Gordon. So, I mean, we're talking about two of the biggest producers in Hollywood. They were not quite at the top of their game then, but they were still big. These are people that produced Die Hard, Indiana Jones, and a whole host of other things. And you got to meet all three of them in one go. And yes. So I guess you owe Pat Kehoe a pretty big debt of gratitude for that.
I do. What happened was this, Lance.
Yes.
I was working on a movie called Gus, about a mule that kicks field goals, a Disney movie, if you can believe that. And I was doubling Dick Butkus. And the guy that was getting the football players was Les Josephson of the LA Rams. And he remembered me because I played with the Rams shortly in 1973. And he goes, I got a guy that's a great double for Dick Butkus. He goes, I'm going to get Allan Graf. So he called me and he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I was in the World Football League then. And I said, nothing. We're in between seasons. He said, how'd you like to work on a movie? So work on a movie doing what? He says, doubling Dick Butkus playing football. I'm there. So nice. I worked on that movie. Eventually, I became Dick Butkus' stunt double for 20 years. But
right.
In between that, in the old days before 9/11, people could go to studios, walk, and stunt guys used to walk and go see other stunt coordinators to look for work. And I just happened to be on the lot, 20th Century Fox. And that's where Pat Kehoe yelled at me, hey, Allan, what are you doing? Looking for work. He says, hey, come here. I want you to introduce you to somebody. Says, who? Walter Hill. Well, I didn't know who Walter Hill was. So I said, let's go. So I went in there and Pat Kehoe goes, hey, Walter, I want you to meet somebody. He goes, who is it? He goes, Allan Graf. Allan Graf, number 61, offensive guard for the USC Trojans. I go, yeah, that's me. Oh man, I've watched you for years. That's fantastic. Well, what happened is we sat there in front of those producers and talked football for a half hour. And then he says, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm looking for work. Okay, you got a job. You can play a part as a cop with Isabella Adjani, who was a beautiful actress at that time.
Oh, stunning.
And that's how it started.
Wow.
So, I mean,
That's
was it your intention when you finished your career as a professional footballer? Because obviously that's a limited career in terms of how long people can do it. We know with injuries and everything. So you kind of fell into it by accident, really. Is that fair? Well,
when you go to USC, University of Southern California, they have a big movie, a lot of professional people that are in the theater and all that, you know, Spielberg and all the big shots. They asked me if I wanted to work extra in a summer job. And I got to work extra and, you know, some of these old TV movies, and I kind of liked it. So I had in the back of my mind, well, if football falls out, I'll try to go in there. But I knew I didn't want to be just an extra. I wanted to do physical stuff and keep doing it. So that's basically what happened. But when I was in college, the two head honchos at Universal Studios were the Green brothers, Marshall and Hilton. And they told me, hey, Allan, when you're done with football, come up and see us. You know, we'll get you a job. And I said, okay. So they're up in the Black Tower, big deal there at Universal. So I made an appointment to see Hilton Green, and I went up there, and he says, how you doing, Allan? I said, well, I'm doing okay. He says, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. I want to be an actor, a stuntman, a producer. What do you got? And he goes, he opens up a drawer, takes out a black book, skims through it. He says, well, all I have right now, Allan, is the mail room. Mail room? Allan Graf.
you don't want to do that.
Yeah, $7 an hour. I said, what? Come on, Hill. He goes, well, that's it right now. I said, well, I'm going to go do my thing, try to be a stuntman. So years later, probably 7 or 8 years later, I saw him in the commissary at Universal, and he yelled at me, hey, come over here, Allan. Hey, how you doing, Hilton? He goes, I hear you're doing real good. I see you all the time. I said, yeah, guess it wouldn't have worked out in the mailroom. He says, well, let me tell you something. I'd have put you in that mailroom for about 2 months. Then I would have made you a producer. I go, I said, you know what? I'm glad I didn't, because I don't want to sit in a room and stare at walls. I like being on a set. I like people and being active. He says, you did the right thing. So that's how that happened.
Right. So you always had a bit of an eye on the industry anyway. So
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
that's great.
If you look through your resume, I mean, obviously we'll talk about your relationship, professional, personal, with Walter Hill, which is lovely when you get that kind of relationship with a director. But I mean, you've worked with some of the biggest and the best in the business. It's an incredible list of directors, everybody from John Carpenter, Mel Gibson, you were on Paul W.S. Anderson's first film, or certainly the film that made him big, and which is a classic scene that I think everybody always remembers, which is why we use that photo to advertise the stream. And I remember when I was watching that movie in the cinema, as soon as I saw you, I went, that's the guy that gets shot in the stomach from RoboCop and spins around with the gun. And so I mean, that's because I'm a film nerd.
You want to see that scene was the most intense scene in a movie, and people freaked out about it, and it became a very popular scene. So I just, for some reason, I get lucky to be put in these situations, and that's why people remember my face. Then I started working with Paul Thomas Anderson. I did some music videos with him, and then I worked a couple other shows.
Right.
So,
did you have any input on the crafting of that scene? Because was it written just like that in the script, or did you have any
just
input
like it?
Right.
Nothing changed. It was exactly the way you see it.
Okay. Yeah, because really quick. You know, one guy shoots another guy, shoots another guy,
right.
and excellent. Well, let's go back to the beginning then, and some of your early work. I've got my big list of questions here. I'm sure Matt's got a few. I mean, so the first job you did for Walter Hill, was that on The Driver?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Recently saw that for the first time. It's a great film. Great little movie.
Yeah,
Matt, didn't you just so late? Matt, you just got the Blu-ray of that, right?
Yeah, I did. I just purchased it and watched it a couple of weeks ago for the first time. I really enjoyed it.
I had that small part with Isabella and Janney in the where she's looking in her locker, and I come up and ask her, you know, do you need any help?
That's right.
That was it. And Walter gave me that part, and I was there for a couple of nights. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was another one of those moments where I was like,
what?
That guy, it was for me, it was another one of those moments where it's like, oh my God, it's the guy from Deadwood. It's the guy from LA Confidential. There he is again. Like, it's all the way back here. This is, so like I said, we're always spotting you in all these films.
Yeah. Well, there's not many stuntmen that act also. I'm very blessed that I have that, I can do that. Yeah. And, being a big guy, it really helped too. So that was good.
Yeah, I suppose one of the other actor stuntmen I'd put in the same category would be the short Oriental guy from Die Hard with the ponytail, who's also in Big Trouble in Little China. The one that sneaks over to get the chocolate bar when they're waiting for the SWAT team to come into the. I can't remember.
I can't right now. Don't ask me his name.
It's Leung. It's something Leung, I think. I'll find out his name for you, but he's another one that he does a lot of acting.
He has Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brings it down. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I know him very well. Just have a brain lock.
So your second job with Walter Hill, then you thought that was going to be it, but then he came back to you and said, I've got something else for you. And that was on Southern Comfort. Is that right?
Yeah. What happened was we went to lunch after that movie, and he was prepping The Warriors. And, we just talk football. He's a football fanatic. He loves college football. And I said, hey, Walter, do you have something for me on the Warriors? I just out and out asked. He says, Allan, you're not right for the Warriors. We're going to shoot at New York. He says, but the one after that, I want to use you, The Long Riders. It's a Western, and you can do a lot of stuff in that.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So I thought to myself, well, there goes the loyalty. And I didn't hear from him for a while. Then one day the phone rings. Hey, Allan, it's Walter. Hey, Walter, great. You done with the Warriors? Yeah, I'm starting the Long Riders, and I want you to work. And then we kept working for 40 years. How is that going?
Wow. That's awesome.
That's loyalty. You don't have that much anymore.
No. Well, I mean,
yeah.
I'd like to say that Matt and I are two directors who definitely have that with people and have worked.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but it is a quality that is hard to come by these days. But when you find the people that are loyal, you hang on to them, and and they always do right by you as well. So
and the thing
is good
when you work with someone that long, you want to do the best that you can always do. You never want to fail at something with them,
Of course.
So that put the pressure on me too.
Yeah, exactly. Was it your relationship with Walter Hill that got you into Deadwood? Because he was involved in the beginning of it, wasn't he?
He wrote the pilot and directed the pilot, and I was the stunt coordinator. And he got most of the actors who were on the series. He picked those guys.
Wow.
They work with him a lot. A lot of those actors worked with Walter in other movies.
Yeah, I noticed he's got like a core.
He had a core guy.
His character actors he likes using again and again.
Yeah, like back in those days he did, but now those guys, some of them are dead, and Powers Booth, who was a great actor.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
And he did Extreme Prejudice. What a great part he had in that.
Yep, Southern Comfort.
Southern Comfort.
I mean, before we get on to some other specific credits. Actually, one question I thought to ask you, and I'll ask it now so I don't forget, because I have a tendency to do that. You've worked in the industry for like 4 decades, over 4 decades, and you're still working in it. What would you say within that time are the biggest changes? And I'm sure there's more than one. But what are the biggest changes that you've seen on a film set in terms of the way it's run, in terms of the type of attitude? Are actors more precious, or are they not? I mean, what are the big changes you've seen in the industry over that time?
Yes, okay. So I can say this. Back when I started in the late 70s, in the 80s and 90s and what all, is that most of the stunts were real stunts. And guys would put their lives on this, right on the table. Everything was real. Nowadays, CGI has been such, put in that you don't have to be, if a guy does a high fall, he's on cable. He's not going to get hurt. It's not like before a guy does a 50-foot high fall into an airbag.
Right.
Yeah.
So much CGI has helped. They can add stuff in a film. Like I could have a car almost hit me, and that car was never there. Stuff like that. So the safety factor is much better. That's how I got to say it. And you can do much more bigger stunts and have that be there. When I worked with Walter, he always liked the realism. It was before CGI got going. So we did blanks, shoot them up, do it and everything. And he liked it because the actors liked the feel of a gun and getting shot and all that. We did squibs. So you'd see big squib hits, and that was good. And in those days,
the 80s hits.
The blood hits didn't look right in CGI.
No, they still don't.
Well, they're doing it better. And fire, there's 2 things. Blood and fire didn't look good.
Yeah.
So now it's looking better. And that's what I'd say the best thing that's happened in the recent years.
Yep.
Is any, I mean, what about in terms of the attitudes and just the way that the on-set crew work generally? Is it slicker, better, faster than the old days, or are people a bit more less prepared to go the extra mile? Are they a bit more precious and we've all
Lance, I don't want to answer that.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm going to say this: what really hit it was COVID.
Yeah, right.
COVID thing. It drove everybody nuts. We had to wear masks on the set. And then when they say, rolling, you can take the mask off. It was just annoying. Outside, you didn't have to wear a mask. And then they say, if you're next to an actor, you're an A guy. If you're just a grip and you don't get close, you're a B guy. There's just a whole bunch of different things. And I think that kind of, we used to have fun. We'd laugh and have a lot of fun on sets.
Yeah.
I don't see that fun as much anymore. And, it's too bad because getting the business because we have fun. So that's kind of taking it away. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the Walter Hill movies. I was showing Alan my vinyl collection earlier, and I've got quite a few Walter Hill films in here. So you did say to us you had a very interesting story to tell us about my favorite Walter Hill movie of all time, which is Streets of Fire. And I've got the vinyl soundtrack here, and the Blu-ray is on the shelf behind me. I'm pretty sure Matt's probably got the Blu-ray somewhere. What's the story?
That was one of the funnest shows I worked. We shot it in Chicago, and I drove the bus. I drove and doubled the bad guy, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is chasing me all over the place.
Oh, you're talking about Red Heat.
Oh, what were you talking about?
Sorry, I'm talking about Streets of Fire.
Oh, Streets of Fire. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry. So, because I know you've worked on a lot of Walter Hill movies. So, but you did say you had a particular story about Streets of Fire. We'll come on to Red Heat in a sec.
Okay, Streets of Fire. We shot it 85% of it was shot at the back lot at Universal here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And 75 nights.
Oh my God.
So what Walter asked the studio to do.
Yeah, listen to this, Matt.
So what he has to do to save the crew and the cast is they tinted the whole back lot.
Oh my God.
So we can shoot at day, but you walk through the tent and you're at night.
Oh wow,
costs
that's
like-
crazy.
Cost like $2 million to do that. But they got ahead of schedule and the crew loved it. Everybody loved it. And
Wow.
we worked day for day, but it was night because you walk in the tent. But sometimes, though, we had a problem when the wind picked up. Sometimes there was a leak,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and then the cameraman, everybody have to stop. They had to go fix it. But I'll tell you, it saved the crew because
Oh, of
nights
course.
are rough.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're always rough. And
And
75 nights. Oh my God.
Yeah.
gee, and I
So
was
they cut it down to like a week, I think, of location night shoots. And that was it.
then we worked out by railroad tracks and stuff. But anyways, I drove a Harley. I was one of the kidnapped Diane Lane from the, when they were singing on stage.
Yeah.
My song, I Can Dream About You. I love
Yeah.
it. Anyways, I got to
Fantastic.
do that. And then I had to leave to go do Uncommon Valor, though. So after that show.
Right.
Right.
Nice.
Okay. So Streets of Fire, from what I read, was a pretty happy shoot, and I know everybody thought it was going to be a bigger movie than it was. I'm not quite sure.
I think that when it came out, there was something else that was.
It was
fine.
released on the same weekend as Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and that was a really stupid
Okay,
idea.
so what does that tell you?
Yeah, I mean, you're going up against an established IP, and
Yeah.
I don't think Michael Paré is really the issue with the movie. Yes, okay, it was his first big major role, and he wasn't a seasoned actor, but he's perfectly fine in the part.
Right.
I'm not sure that the audience, the mainstream audience, was ready for it. I loved it. As soon as I saw it, I loved it. I went out and bought the soundtrack. I then got hold of the video as soon as I could. And
Well, if I'm not mistaken, because he had the feel of a music video.
that's right.
Did MTV come on after that or start, or was
No,
MTV?
it was already up and running, and they.
Okay.
I mean, Walter said that it was kind of unintentional that he copied that vibe, but I think the producers were pushing it.
Yeah. Well, now it's a huge cult movie.
Yeah.
It didn't make money, but afterwards, still making money.
That's
Yeah,
amazing,
and
isn't
it did pretty well in Europe.
And
Do you have
look
any other?
what Diane Lane became a big actress. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Matt
she's
and I would not
fantastic.
disagree.
Not at all. Not at all. She's she's one of those actresses that when she's in something, you're like, I'm going to watch that because Diane Lane's
Yeah.
in it.
Right.
And her career had a bit of a resurgence in the last few years. She kind of disappeared for a bit, and then
Yeah. But in the
Yeah,
90s,
she
I think
came
like
back.
mid-90s, she sort of came back. I remember seeing her again in Judge Dredd, and it's like, Diane Lane's back.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I
But,
forgot
you know,
Just
She was-
something about she has natural beauty. She's a beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
stunning.
All right, well, let's talk about Red Heat then, which I've also got the vinyl soundtrack.
Nice.
for. That was mainly shot in Chicago. You said I know
Mainly
you
shot in Chicago.
did the prison scene in it, and I think you also doubled for Edo Ross. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm surprised at that. You're
I
probably a
doubled
bit
him.
too.
I drove all the buses. I crashed through everything, fountains, buildings.
Wow.
I drove up on sidewalks, hitting, parking meters, stuntmen flying everywhere. I went crazy in that bus, and it just was a lot of fun.
So
But
did
we
they
had
have
one-
an area of Chicago where they kind of built that fountain and stuff like in some of the ramshackled areas?
Yeah, that was right off of Michigan. It was off of Michigan, which is the big street there.
Yeah.
But what happened is we went down, which they call Lower Wacker, and it's a street that goes underground. And we had a problem because no water has ever been down there. So the minute you put water on it, you can't even walk. It's slippery, you know? And so the cameraman decided he needed some water because he loved the reflection of the street. And I said, wait a minute, I can't even turn this bus. I keep turning the wheel and it keeps going straight. Oh, you can do it, Alan. You can do it. I said, well, so you do whatever you want. So we did it. And there's a hairpin turn, wouldn't you know? So action, I'm going hot. And all of a sudden, hairpin turn, and I just went right into a pillar. Boom. That was that.
Well, you did say something.
Yeah, see, I covered my bases.
That's it.
And those were like two sort of old Trailways buses or Greyhound buses, was it?
Yeah.
They were the real deal. Did they do anything special for them for you to drive them?
We reinforced the front end and down with steel, steel beams.
Right.
Yeah, I had to, or I'd be crushed I hit cars. I split vans in two. Go back and watch it, then you'll see how much we did.
Well, were there any internal shots done with you at the steering wheel, but with Jim Belushi sort of at your side being filmed or anything like that? Or was that all was the internal stuff all done?
Well, I can't remember, but they could have been over my shoulder and looking out. But
right.
I'm sure there was. And then there's just clean POVs, but
yeah,
you'll have to go look at that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a film that I've got but haven't watched in a while, and I saw it at the cinema in '88 the first time I went to the States in a $2 cinema in Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know if you remember the scene where there's a gang of African Americans and they attack and knock Jim Belushi out, and he's trying to get to the key for the locker. It's all to do with the plot, and right in the middle of that scene, the projector failed and it split the screen in half, so we could see the feet of the actors and the top of their heads, but not the rest of the scene. And so this major action scene was playing out in the cinema, and we were all screaming like, we can't see what's going on. And by the time they fixed it, that scene was finished. So I got a free ticket and I went back and saw it the next day. But that's the sort of thing that used to happen before cinemas went digital. That's a shame that they have gone digital. What about the prison scene with Red Heat? You had a little acting role there.
Yeah, that was a small deal. Walter always tried to get me in the movies, and they shot at Joliet Prison in Chicago, which is housed murderers. And I'll never forget, they knew that Arnold Schwarzenegger was there. And when we'd walk on the outside, all these prisoners were catcalling them and yelling at him and everything. It was eerie.
Yeah, right.
Come on in, yeah, come here, Arnold, we'll talk to you, Arnold. And just
wow.
So that was a live prison at the time that you
live prison
the film.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And
how did that work?
Pardon me?
How did that work with releasing?
Well, what they did is they locked off half the prison, and the one we were working at, the prisoners that were on good standings, they got to work extra with us. And so I'm in there and I'm talking to a guy. God, how long you been in here? 25 years.
Oh my God.
Oh, what did you do? Well, you don't want to know, but it wasn't good. I said, okay, I'm not going to ask. So, we were working with murderers. A lot of
That's
them,
amazing.
But these guys, what are they going to do? 25 years to life or something? Then they're not going to do nothing. Because if they did something to us, they just extend it. Of course, how long are you going to extend life?
Yeah.
So
wow, that's.
Anyways, that was fun, and Chicago was a lot of fun. We had a blast, and a lot of good restaurants. That's the first time I shot in Chicago, and I went right down Michigan.
How many days did you have to film that bus chase sequence at the end? Do you remember roughly?
Yeah, so are you kidding? How long ago was that? 87?
Yeah, it probably was.
It was a while, but that's the other thing. They took their time and did it right.
Yeah.
Didn't seem like back in those days they were rushing. Now everything is rush. Yeah, we got to
Oh
get
man.
this, we got to get that. You know, Matt, you know what I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah, I know what it's like. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things for me as a director nowadays is I just find, I mean, I've come from the independent film world where you're doing it on your own with your friends and all that, and then going now into the industry in a more professional way. It's just that sense of rush. Is that
Rush.
you just like go faster, squeeze more in a day, and I'm thinking, hang on, we've
Right.
got to take our time on this because
Yes.
we've got to get this
Well, let
right.
me
You know,
tell you, the thing about safety now, everything is about safety. So if they try to rush nowadays, after what happened on that movie, I have full content. I can tell them we're not doing it. We're going to talk to it. We're going to make sure everybody understands, camera,
yeah,
everybody, and we're going to slow it down. But you know what?
Yeah.
There's always an independent, the producers, man, just talking. All they care about is the money. You know, it's money,
Yeah.
money, money. You know,
Yeah,
when
Matt's
really
had
it should be
first-hand
about
experience.
the film.
Huh?
I've had sadly very strong, very first-hand experience about that, where it's just all about the money. But it's like, but what about what we're making? That's important too. And film is forever, isn't it? Like it's
Yes.
pain is temporary, but film is forever. And if you're spending all this money, you want to get it right. You want to
Right.
do it right. So yeah, it's interesting that even over in the States, it's the
Production
same thing.
managers. I had I can't remember. I think it was Mike Glick, who's been in the business for years. He was head of a studio one time, then became a production manager. He said, if I have a budget, let's say it's 10 million, I want to spend all 10 million and put it on the screen. I don't want to be a good guy and bring home 2 million. The audience doesn't know that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Spend the money and make a good movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't have many producers that say that now.
Yeah.
No,
They
no,
are
not in my experience. Not in
Yeah,
my
I know.
experience. No.
Yeah,
Which is a shame because that's why we're in the industry, right? Because we want to create something awesome and see that on the screen. We don't want to just walk away and go, oh well, like you said, oh I got $2 million in the pocket. It's like no, we want it on the screen.
Right.
Well, look, let me move on to another movie that's a favourite of mine, and then Matt, why don't you have some Wild Bill questions ready and Deadwood, because I know you're a big fan of Deadwood as well. I want to ask about Extreme Prejudice, another one that I've got the soundtrack for on vinyl, and this is one of my favourite soundtracks, if not my favourite Jerry Goldsmith. I saw this on the opening week in London. I want to say it was 87 it came out, and I went straight back and saw it again the night after. Now, funnily enough, I was supposed to go and see, but I've seen it in the cinema 3 times. I was supposed to go and see The Wild Bunch today because, Matt, that cinema I'm going to take you to when you come over.
Yep.
Shows the old movies. And Extreme Prejudice is the final sequence in it is very much a homage to the big gunfight at the end of The Wild Bunch. And were you there that day? For those days for the filming of that action, were you there for that?
I died 17 times.
Right.
Oh, nice.
So
I changed. I put a beard on. I did this. I did that. I changed everything on me. I doubled one of the leads. I can't even remember the blonde-haired guy who's the bad guy.
I think you mean the guy who Clancy Brown.
No, not Clancy Brown. The other guy that was a kind of a weird duck.
Oh, I know the one you mean. He plays very similar characters in.
That's right. I can't remember. But
I'll get you his name. I'll get you his name in a second. I know exactly.
Okay. Anyways, I doubled him. We had car work. We had stuff to do like that, and it was a crazy movie, boy. I'll tell you, it was tough. But the actors were great. Nick Nolte he was lovely, man, and he's a man's man. And he was a real sports enthusiast, and Powers Booth. Those guys were great, And, it was great to work with those guys.
You and Nick Nolte must have had a lot to talk about because Nolte had done a film called North Dallas 40, I think.
I worked on that.
Well, I wondered if you had. I know we're going to talk about Friday
I
Night
just
Lights.
worked out as a football player. I was very early in my career, and I just worked as a football player. But
Right.
then, another 48 hours, I worked with Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a lot to talk about.
Was it William Forsythe that you doubled?
You're absolutely right, Lance.
What was he like as a person to work with?
He was a weird duck. He was, I don't want to knock people, but a lot of people, sometimes they have egos and or they don't want to take advice, and you want to help them.
Yeah.
And they know, I know what I'm doing, so when that happens, I just back away, and we never got real close like I did with Nick Nolte and Powers Booth.
Right. Yeah, and it's a shame we lost Powers Booth, I think, a year or two ago.
Yeah, he was, and we worked on Deadwood together too. That was tough.
And Southern Comfort as well.
Southern Comfort.
That
was one of the toughest movies I've ever worked on.
Right.
Yeah, just for the location.
The location was brutal.
Yeah.
We were in the swamps in Louisiana. It was winter.
Oh my God.
And the water's about 2 feet high, and below it, there's all these tree stumps, and you have to run through there, and these tree stumps are getting you. We had to break the ice to get in it, and the temperature was like 35 degrees when we were shooting. Brutal.
Oh my God.
Brutal.
Wow.
Yeah.
It pays off. It looks brutal on the screen, and
what you see was brutal. Even Walter Hill said it was the roughest movie he did. We were all just it was unbelievable.
I've got a question from one of the people watching for you, Alan. They've said, what is the most dangerous stunt that you've ever done or worked on? I don't know if that was the bus one behind you. I know that was a pretty big deal. Would that be it?
That's it, because no one had ever done it. I was the first to cannon roll a bus at 60 miles an hour. They used to do cars, but they'd only put one cannon in. And I told Walter I wanted to do something new. I always try to come up with new deals. And this one was a big feather in my cap. And we cannon rolled that bus. And cannon means there's a cylinder, and they put a telephone pole down, and they wrap it with steel, and then the top of it is carved out with a half moon. They put a bomb, 8 ounces of black powder, and they put one right behind me in the driver's seat and one behind in front of the back dualies. And I push a button, and boom, and It went 260 feet and rolled 2 times. In the movie, they let it roll more. So everybody was worried about that one, even the special effects guy, who I was kind of mad about at the time, because we prepped it for almost 5 weeks. And I'd go up to a place called Magic Mountain. It's like Disneyland, but it's called Magic Mountain. It's a park where they have all these rides.
Yeah.
And I'd go in their parking lot, and I'd put out cones, and I'd slide the bus, slide it. Well, it slid and went real slow. I wanted to go 60 miles forward. I wanted to go 60 miles sideways. So we worked out the back end. Hey, I don't need the inside dualies. Let's just go on 2 wheels. Well, that helped, but it wasn't enough. Finally, we decided I'll push a button, and a Hudson sprayer will spray oil on the back tire. Well, that really brought it around. So I was doing 60. I never slowed down. And that was the key to that. So here we are in Modesto, California, which is the middle of the state. And they have 10 cameras on this, right? I'm a mile away from the set because I have to get the speed up. So I hear on the radio, okay, Alan, get yourself strapped in, make the bombs hot, and let's go. We're ready. Tell Chuck. So Chuck, the special effects supervisor, comes in and says, I'm not making them hot till you sign this. Sign what? Sign this release. If you blow yourself up, your family can't sue me. What? And I don't even want to tell you what I said. And all the other guys, his workers and my stunt people, I went like this. I am nuts. Get out of here and make the bombs hot. Jesus. So after it was over, everybody, yeah, it's great. He came and he was crying and said, I'm sorry, Allan, I had to do that, but we're getting sued. I said, why would you? We've been working together for 2 months. Why didn't you say something before then? That you don't do that to someone. You do not do that.
That's putting them on the spot, isn't it?
Put me on a spot.
Yeah.
So,
wow,
anyways,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that were you strapped in?
Oh yeah, I was strapped in. Oh yeah, I had a helmet on, strapped in. The bikers are shooting out the bus, shooting the windows.
Yeah.
Because we try to take all the,
Oh, he's frozen for a sec there.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Let's hope that's just a attempt. Oh, there we go. Allan, you froze for a sec there, but we've got you.
Did you hear me saying the front windows got blown out?
No, you have to go back and we'll
just repeat that bit.
So we always try to be safe and think of everything. Well, I didn't think of everything. So the front windows got blown out, but the first time I went upside down and hit, the windshield wiper came in right at me. And lucky I never moved anymore. So something as stupid as that. I mean, it could have poked my eye out, but we're lucky.
Right.
Wow.
Because didn't you have like a special crash helmet that was built, but it kind of had a police cap built on the top? Because I've got a distinct memory of seeing the stunt in the movie in the cinema, and you can see a silhouette of a police uniform.
I know I had a black helmet, but I don't remember the.
Yeah, maybe they took that off, but oh, was he frozen again? Oh God, I hope he don't. I might close a few of my windows.
Are you there?
Sure. Yeah. We're getting a bit of freeze occasionally, so I'm just going to close as many of my windows as I can to put less strain on my bandwidth, but probably nothing to do with that.
Just
anyway,
tell me when you can hear me.
Yeah, no, we can hear you just fine. No.
So when you say I see this guy again, I was the bus driver, right?
Yeah, so I kind of like saw a silhouette of a prison guard. That's what I would see in the movie.
I played the part. You're frozen.
Yeah, we're just getting a little bit of lag occasionally. I don't know why that is. I'm just I've closed as much as I can, so hopefully.
Did you hear what I said this time?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I caught it. Did you not catch it, Matt?
No, I did only caught the question just then.
Okay, so what happened is, he's leaving prison. He just yelled at Nick Nolte. He comes in and he's complaining about he wants to get out of here. And I say, write a letter. And he goes in and sits at the bus. And then I'm driving and he's singing, and I'm giving them looks and stuff. And then the bikers are coming and I'm screaming. So that's what people remember. They say, oh, you're the bus driver, how you always say, how do you remember? I don't know how people remember things like that, but they do.
Yeah.
People like us remember things like that.
Yeah. That's what I was asking before. What is the film that you think people like you get stopped in the street the most for, and you go, that guy? Which one do you find is the one that you get stopped for the most?
Well, another 48 hours. It's either another 48 hours or it's Universal Soldier, the diner cook, or it's just little, Boogie Nights sitting in the donut shop.
The donut
just
shop.
Little things,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I watch a lot of movies and I don't zero in on certain people, but I just happen to pop up in good places,
Yeah.
RoboCop, just like Lance and me were talking about. The scene in the cocaine factory, and I'm there, and I have these big close-ups. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great action sequence, I thought. Really well edited.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Put together. How did you find working with Paul Verhoeven as a director?
Oh, he was fine. He liked me. He liked it. Yeah. Same deal. So
yeah, because he had you back for Total Recall, which was the next movie after.
Let me tell you, I can tell you about that Total Recall because we shot that scene that you see me in where Arnold goes to Mars or whatever.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we capture them. That was done in Mexico City, and I got sick as a dog.
I
Oh.
heard everyone got sick on that.
You know, everybody don't eat, don't drink the water, don't do nothing. And I really took it. You know, I said, okay, I'm going to make sure I don't. Well, one night I had a drink and the ice was bad. And I go,
Out.
I'm throwing up. I'm inside the bathroom. I can't even barely get myself up. And now I know I have to do this big fight with Arnold. And they had, I hate to say this, they had to bring an outhouse right by the set. And they were giving me IVs the whole time because I was sick as a dog. I'd lost like 12 pounds in 2 days.
Oh my God.
And so when you see us grabbing him and he slams us and then he shoots me in my stomach, I was after every take, I had to run to the bathroom and they had to help me. So,
oh my God.
I'll never go back there.
Yeah, I heard. I've watched many makings of, and that's one of the things they said. Like everyone on the crew got sick.
Sick as a dog.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
That's happened with a few shoots down in Mexico. Matt, do you want to jump on about Deadwood?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. I mean, the role for me, Allan, the one that I think just where you stood out for me, and this is where I didn't realize. I guess because at the time in the 90s, I wasn't as aware of film as I am now, but I always thought you were an actor first. I didn't realize that you were a stuntman that became an actor. I always thought you were an actor.
And you know what, Matt, a lot of people think that, and that's okay. I'd take it whatever I get.
Yeah.
But
it was LA Confidential. That's
that's another one.
That's the scene for me that just was like that the wife beater at the beginning that Russell Crowe takes out. It was such a memorable scene. That's
another one I forgot to tell you. And that was a scene where he loosened my tooth, and I was very upset.
Really?
He beats me up, and I tell him, Russell, don't hit me. You don't have to get that close. And he did it twice. So I went to the director and I went to the stunt coordinator and I said, if he hits me again, I'm going to hit him. Because this was his first American. And I told him, don't hit me again. And he didn't. So, but that was another where people remember me,
Yeah.
I'm a wife beater. I'm beating up my wife at the beginning of the movie. So.
Yeah. But it's quite powerful. I mean, I remember you were a scary guy in that scene, like a really scary guy.
If it hadn't have been for Titanic, that movie would have won Best Picture. It was good.
Yeah.
Oh, that LA Confidential is in my top 10 favorite films, easily.
Classic.
It's such a good film. Yeah. And what a great opening scene to be a part of. I mean, that's just
opening the movie.
Gold. I know it's fantastic. But Deadwood is got to be probably if it was a movie, it would be my favorite movie. But it's just one of my favorite westerns. And that fight scene with Dan Doherty and that like the whole season, it was series 3, I believe.
Right, they're
building up to these two guys that look at each other across the street, just want to kill each other. And when the fight came, like total on the edge of my seat. And the fight itself was just completely memorable. But let's hear you talk about it.
I'll tell you about that. That was it was a classic. It was really good. What happened was this. I coordinated the show with Walter, and then I did the first 4 episodes. And then I had a job offer to go and do Friday Night Lights and direct all the football and do all that, because that was my background, basically, football. So when it was over, the producer called me and said, "Hey, Allan," he says, "how would you like to play a part? Come back and when you're done." I said, "Sure." He says, "I got a Captain Turner. You're going to come back and play Captain Turner." So I said, "Okay." So I came back and we're doing it, and I'm working, 3 or 4 episodes. Then he goes, "Hey, you're going to have a fight with Daugherty." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He says, "Right now, I don't know who's going to win." I go, "Yeah, right. He's the star, and I'm just some sidekick there, right?" So he goes, on the day we do it, he says, I'm not going to tell the camera people. I'm not telling anybody. He says, the only one will know is you and the makeup artist. I said, okay. So the first day, it was tough. And we're beating each other for 12 hours in the mud and the beer and all that, going under horses and everything. So the next day around lunchtime, I get a message, Allan, go to the makeup. I go, okay, it's me. So I go to the makeup. What are you going to do? He says, we're going to put a false eye in. Really? So, yeah, but we're not telling anybody. Okay. So I go back out. We do the fight, and I'm pounding him, and he pulls my eye out. Well, the extras, everybody else thought he did it for real. They were screaming, he didn't, and they got the best, look from, and everybody was going nuts, and I'm screaming bloody murder, and he pounds me in the back with a board, and that's what happened. It was a classic. And HBO got so many letters and fan mail about the fight because I told you it's two big bulls fighting, and they're tired, and it's real. It's no, it's not that.
Yeah,
No.
Real. And that's what a real fight looks like.
Absolutely. I think that for me was the thing that set it apart from any other fight. But what's interesting is that because it was Deadwood, I didn't feel that anybody was truly safe. Dan could have died. And so there was parts in that where I was thinking, this is it. Dan's gone. He's dead.
Well, because it looked like I had him.
That's right.
I did have him. They wanted to make it look like I got him almost.
yeah.
And then he looks up to Swearingen. Swearingen looks down, and you look up at Swearingen, and he's going, oh boy.
Yeah. That's, I think, was where the suspense of it came from, because, it was, your character Turner was just such an adversary that you absolutely believed that if someone could kill Dan, it's this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like the audience, when the eye came out and you're screaming, and it's like, oh, wow,
I remember
this is great.
If you would have been on the set that day, everybody freaked out because it looked so real, Oh,
it was amazing, and I'd never seen that on anything before, on a scene before. Someone pull an eye out. It was just, it's traumatic. Can I ask, where did they actually? I've tried to find out as much information on the net as I can about Deadwood, but where did they actually shoot? Where did they shoot the main strip of Deadwood? Was that in California?
There's a ranch up in Newhall called Melody Ranch.
Ranch.
That western town has been there. You know what else we shot there afterwards was Last Man Standing. They just made it look a little better, and but that's Melody Ranch is used a lot.
Right.
It was a great place.
Is that Melody Ranch Film Studio in Santa Clarita?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Last Man Standing, that is probably my favorite Walter Hill film. That's
really,
for some reason, it's just the one that it mixes the gangster with the Western, and I just loved it. It
was a good one. That was a good one, and I had a big second unit on that one too, and it was a lot of fun. We shot a lot of guys.
Yeah, I bet.
There was a lot of shoot 'em up in that.
Yeah, because everybody's getting like another gang together at some point. And,
right.
Bruce Willis is playing off the two gangs against each other, and then Christopher Walken is delightfully.
Oh, he's really intimidating. He has that whisper talk or whatever, and that scene where he comes in and they're all eating dinner.
Yeah,
lost everybody. That was a classic scene. A lot of people said that's one of the best scenes they've seen in a long time. It was just shoot 'em up, and guys are just getting blasted. That's that just brings me to a point where we used to put what we call poppers, and we would stack poppers all in the ceiling. And so when guys were shooting, poppers would pop, and you'd see paper flying in the air, and just that stuff. It's like chaos when you have a shootout and all this stuff is going on. So that
Right.
made those scenes great, you know.
Right. Poppers.
Yeah, because you know it's in the air and it just, man, you
Yeah.
don't care where it's coming from. It just looks good.
Yeah. It gives the sense of just the bullets have just shredded everything
Yeah,
to
like
pieces.
stuff
Yeah.
that's flying.
Yeah,
So
and
that
that's
added
awesome.
to it, you know.
yeah.
And I shot
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, it was good.
So,
Wow.
because I mean, like about 70% of that film is action scenes, from what I can remember. It's
Whoa.
one kind of
Yeah.
gunfight.
Well,
or-
even me, I got to play a part. You know, I was in there and they riddled me in the car. You remember?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. The convoy, isn't it? In the
convoy, and I get drilled.
and
Yeah.
so, how many days of second unit directing did you do on that? And for those action sequences, were they storyboarded, or did Walter just give you the script and let you do what you wanted with it?
If he has a certain thing he wants me to do, we talk about it.
Right.
He didn't storyboard very often at all. Just like the ending, you know, where they go in the burning house, where they see those guys at the end.
Yeah.
The house is burning.
Yeah.
I shot all that. That was all second unit too. And guys are coming out and falling into cars and everything, screaming and yelling.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think I had like, I want to say 7 weeks, six weeks, maybe a second unit, 6, 7.
Wow.
With 3 cameras.
Three cameras. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so amazing to hear that. For me, being a director in Australia, you get 7 weeks of second unit on a film. I don't even get 7 weeks on the whole movie. You know.
You know what? I could be 6 weeks, but I know it was a long time. Now,
yeah, if you get 6 weeks in Australia,
when I did Any Given Sunday, that was 3 months.
That's all the
Oliver
football.
Stone. I did all the football, just like
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights with Peter Berg.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on there for, I don't know, 8 weeks or something, because I shoot the football and I'm shooting actors with the football. So
I wanted to.
They give me more than just the stunts. I shoot actors too.
I mean, I wanted to come on to Friday Night Lights next, because I think choreographing football, sort of, I guess what you call football action sequences, is a bit of a you would kind of be the go-to guy, I would think.
Yeah, so I was because I played football at USC and I played pro ball.
Right.
The thing is, when I saw football movies before I was coordinating, I didn't like it. It looked phony to me. You know,
would that be something like Mean Machine with Burt Reynolds, or?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It was. Yeah. I mean, it was great for that movie, but I wanted realism. So when I got it, I did the smart thing. I got the guys that shoot NFL films, and my operators came in, and they could follow a ball at 150 frames in the air and come right down. I've done 17 football movies, 17. So I have a plan. I'm organized with it and all that. Jerry Maguire, you know, I told you I shot Jerry Maguire and I had a crane on the field. Well, the producer who did, you know, Monday Night Football, he couldn't believe it. God, you got a crane on the field. That's great. I said, yeah, I want to go right over the huddle. And then when they break, I come right to them. He goes, God, I love those shots. Well, what do you think happened? Eventually, they got that camera, a wire camera that goes across the football fields, and they can go everywhere. And it was because of that idea. How does that grab you?
Inspired by Allan Graf production.
He inspired, yeah, because they wanted it to, the director wanted it just like Monday Night Football, and they had the announcers. And I was in Vegas doing Vegas Vacation, and they called me and they said, Allan, we're doing our voiceovers for the football. We thought it was real. And that made me happy. If those guys who watch football all the time thought what I did was real, I did my job. So
absolutely.
Cool.
I don't think there's an American football movie that's been made that I haven't seen. I'm probably a bigger fan of them than Matt, but and the two favorites for me are Friday Night Lights and We Are Marshall, because We Are Marshall is such a gut-wrenching, powerful, true story. It's
I
less
didn't do that one.
No, I know you didn't work on that one. And that film is much less about the football and more about the town trying to rebuild itself and put itself back together. But Friday Night Lights, in terms of realism, for me, that was just like you. I mean, I remember watching it with my ex-partner, and I remember us sitting there going, "Is this footage from the real games?" Because it feels like this is footage from the real games. But I read about the production and how it was all shot. So I'm guessing what you were doing was were you re-choreographing the actual plays that were made in those games, but sort of trying to make them more dramatically exciting, and then and would you put the actors in those plays, or would that be a stunt crew and the actors would be cut in? How did tell us how about
so
that?
What happens is when I start a football movie, I read a script. We count how many plays we have, because you can only shoot like 3 plays a day with the coverage and everything. So
Right.
I have to draw up all the plays. So I do it like a playbook. So, scene 43 is a 28 pitch, let's say. We call it a 28 pitch. I do that. So let's say we have, in that movie, we had something like 70 some plays.
Yeah,
That's a lot of plays.
a lot of games.
So I do it, and I pick all the football players. We have tryouts. I get to doubles, and we get great doubles. That's my pet peeve. So a guy that wears a number 12, you believe that's the actor to wear a number 12, as long as his body is the same, and it's great because the helmet hides a lot. So that's how I do it. And, I've never tackled an actor. We always tackle the stuntman. But if the quarterback comes up and he's green 33, green 30, that's the actor. I'm shooting him. We know that it's him. But
right.
the minute he passes it off or hands it off, that turns into a stuntman. Well, I don't know why I'm telling you all my secrets.
Well, no, but this is vital information for the people that follow in your footsteps. This is how it's done by the master at work.
I thought we were getting a lot of people were going to ask me questions. It didn't happen.
No. I've got some more. I'm just trying to fit them in at the right time. One that's come in from David Macy is he wants to know if you've ever worked with or under Bob Anderson, who's a bit of a stunt legend. Do you know that name? I think he's more of a legend in the UK.
Was he a coach? Bob Anderson, was he a coach?
He was a stunt coordinator, Bob Anderson.
On what movies?
He was a sword master, wasn't he?
So he's a sword master. I think he did the fights for Star Wars, choreographed the fights for like Darth Vader.
No.
Ben
I'm
Kenobi.
going to tell you what I did. That just brings up another movie that I'm very proud of, and that's A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger.
Oh, yep. That's a great one.
So I direct. I don't know if you have time for all this, but
no, we do.
I directed all the. Okay, I directed all the jousting. And
wow, that's fantastic. Those joustings.
Yeah, Brian Heglin called me and he said, "Allan, I want you to direct the jousting like you direct football, in your face, real."
Oh, yep.
And I said, "Okay." Well, I didn't have anything to look at. They did a show years ago in the early 50s called Ivanhoe, but there was nothing like this. So I went over there we shot it in Prague, and I went there, and it was a lot of Czech stuntmen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw them trying to work out and do this, and they'd come, and then they wouldn't hit each other. They didn't want to hit each other. So after being there for a couple of weeks, and I never saw them hit each other, I told the director, "Come down here and watch these practice." Boop, 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 boop. Didn't hit each other. He goes, "Aren't they supposed to hit each other, Allan?" I said, "That's what I thought. I thought that's what the movie was about." Well, so I had to get 5 Americans, and I brought them over, and they did a great job. And you saw what the jousting looked like. It was unbelievable. I got a lot of praise for that one, and I was excited about that.
Did you design those lances to shatter like that? Because that was a big.
Okay, yeah, that brings up a good point.
Yeah.
So these lances were huge. When they normally did them, they didn't look like broom handles. Well, these are like this, 4-inch circumference. So I said, God, we got to help these guys. So the last 3 feet, there's a such thing as called male and female balsa wood. Female balsa wood is soft. It's a softer wood. So we drilled a hole in that balsa, and guess what? We put spaghetti in there. So when it hit, it shattered. It looked like splinters. How awesome was that?
That's nuts.
That's awesome.
Nuts.
That's very cool.
They had to get in and they had to pull it out in that 3 feet. Well, sometimes they missed and they still drilled the guy, but they had the metal on, so it was okay.
All right. Yeah. I always wondered how, because it looks so dangerous on screen. You're thinking,
Oh,
how
it was
the hell
dangerous.
did they do it?
Hey, Matt, I held my breath every time I said action, because
Wow.
they're coming at each other 20, 25 miles an hour and hitting. And even though it's balsa, it still drills. You know. And the guy that had to do the back over at the end, that was a hell of a stunt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's nice.
Was that onto some kind of hidden crash, Matt, or did he go
Fell
straight on the
right
ground?
into the dirt.
Damn.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, look, it paid off. It looks phenomenal. I haven't seen. Yeah, I don't think we'd seen jousting, like you said, since Ivanhoe, not properly. So
No, you won't see that. Everybody tries to copy, but they're never going to get it like that.
Yeah, that was very. And of course, you would have known Brian Helgeland from LA Confidential, right?
Yeah, he wrote that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Speaking of England, most of my camera crew was English. I had a good report for that. I had a German cameraman, and the operators were all English.
Right.
And
Right.
one of the things I told them is I wanted to start up high, like this is a horse, and I wanted to drop down. Well, over there, they didn't have any wires. So what we did is they have these big cables and big round wheels. And we did this, and that's how they did it. So I could go right over the list and go right behind a guy. How awesome is that?
That's a phenomenal shot. I mean, that's one of the most memorable shots in the movie. I mean, I think even in the trailer they had that. And you're like,
I know, and I told him, I said, I gotta get this shot, or we're gonna miss something. You got to get over the list and come down on it. Awesome.
Well, that's what put you into the scene, right? Because you got the perspective. It wasn't like the old movies that would just put a long lens and cover it way back here, you know.
And the other thing is close-ups when they go boom, and you see their eyes in the thing.
Yeah.
Boom. You know, it looked great.
Yeah, I really, again, that's another film I saw at the cinema, and I remember when I came out of it, it was so different from what I was expecting, and it was really
because the modern music, the rock and roll music.
Yeah, with the dance, sequence. One of the other films that you worked on that I want to ask you about. It's another favorite of mine, which I don't think it did the box office that people were expecting. That's John Woo's Broken Arrow, and I think you were stunt coordinator on that. Is that right?
Yeah, I coordinated, directed second unit. Yes.
Right.
That was a good one. I was really happy to be able to work with John Woo. He was very impressive, and that was his first American movie. And, it was a tough show. That's there again, you know, producers trying to tell John Woo what to do and hurry up and do this, you know, Asian trying to shoot his movie, you know, it was rough for him. I felt bad.
Yeah, I think he did three movies for Hollywood, and then he kind of got out. He did that Hard Target, and one of the he did the second Mission Impossible film, which a lot of people say is a bad movie. It's actually one of my favorite of the Mission Impossible franchise. Yeah, I don't know why people don't like it, but on Broken Arrow there was some really good individual stunt and action sequences on that film, and I can remember them very distinctly, like when the guy gets blown out one side of the moving train and he's on fire. I mean, that's a particularly good stunt. You've got the sequence where the recovery team abseiled down into that kind of sand gully cave system, and they're trying to retrieve the missile, and they're all getting picked off by a sniper. That's a great little scene on its own. And then there's just various other action scenes, like in the mine and stuff like that. How many of that? Which bits were you involved in on that film, coordinating?
Oh, yeah. That train one. I wasn't on that.
You weren't on the train.
Was on the other ones were inside the caves, guys rappelling down, all the car work, the Humvee when they chase, and he throws a can and hits the other one and the lights on fire. All that.
Yeah, I remember that scene with the two Humvees, and it was Christian Slater and I forget the name.
We were jumping them and doing all that.
Yeah. Did you find that was a dangerous sequence to do?
No, it was pretty good. You know, you're only as good as the stuntmen you hire.
Right.
I get the best guys and guys that work with me that I know. I'm very loyal to my stunt people, but I'm always looking for new guys because, you know, guys are getting older, and when they get up into their 50s, they don't want to hit the ground anymore. No. You got to get young guys. My son, he's 41, and he's a stuntman. He's been a stuntman for 17 years. He's doubling a guy on a TV show here, and and he's starting to feel already when you have to hit the ground a lot. You know, that's why I had back surgery this last year.
Right.
You know.
Did you? When you finish working on a movie, I know with a lot of actors, they actually don't want to go and watch the film. They might turn up at the premiere, but then they'll head out of the back door. Are you a film fan? Do you like to watch the movie?
Yes, I do, and I critique myself, and I'm always trying to see if I can have done something better. You know, or what camera did I use, or what speed? You know, sometimes 48 frames works a little better than 60 or something like that. You know. When you slow down, sometimes if you slow it down, it doesn't look real. So you have to make sure what it is, and that's through experience. That's through all the camera people I worked with. And I used to be called Mr. IMO. You know what an IMO camera is? An IMO camera is a camera they used in the wars, and it's a camera that's this big, and it's encased in steel. And you can put it right on the ground, and you could have a car or something hit it, and obviously it doesn't hurt it.
Right.
So I used to put these things all over the place and do that. They used to call me that, IMO man, because I put them in there. But it's only like 100 feet, but that's all you need, you know?
Right.
So,
yeah, that's right, to capture the moment.
I've got a 2-part question for you, but before I do that, we've got another question online. David Macy asks, have you ever refused to do a stunt for a director on the grounds of safety? And I mean, obviously you don't have to say who if it's the case, but has there ever been a stunt you've been asked to do and you've said, no, that's...
You know what? I've been fortunate and I haven't had to do that.
Right.
I'll tell you what I have done. And I just can't remember off the top of my head, but I would ask another stuntman that was there. I said, do you think I'm doing this right? How do you feel about that? You know, I'm having a little concern about this. And I would collaborate with other stunt people that are there. And they'd say, yeah, Allan, I think you're right, this or that or whatever. And I didn't do it a lot, but when I was in a position where I wasn't sure, and I can't tell you where that was, but I did do that. But I never turned down a stunt, you know. I did a stunt in Uncommon Valor where I got shot out of a gun tower. I don't know if you remember that in.
Yeah,
and I double text call, and he pulls the thing and jumps. And then there's a big explosion, you know.
I remember.
It was a little concerning because I had to almost hop out of the gun tower, and it was 35 feet up, and I landed in boxes. But I had no problem with it, you know. So I never turned down a stunt. And the only time I ever got hurt is, you know, when I do a flat backer or something,
Mm.
and it just airs you out. I cracked a couple of ribs sometimes or doing fights or whatever, but
Right.
nothing big.
So my sort of two-part question would be, before you got in the business, what would have been, I assume you probably went to the cinema in your youth. You were a bit of a, go and see the latest movie, and so on. What would be the film that you went to see before you got in the industry that stuck the most in your mind? It was like, wow, how did they do that? I'd like to know more about this, because I mean,
I'll tell you a movie that affected me.
Yes, please.
Godfather.
Yeah.
I love The Godfather. That's right when I graduated, The Godfather. And then there was one, I think, with Roy Scheider. I think it was called 52 Pickup.
Yeah, I know that film.
It was great action. And I thought, wow, these guys really did a good job in that. But I just like the realism of The Godfather.
Yeah.
It was intense, wasn't it?
Oh, it's one of my favorite movies.
One of mine too.
Alan, did you watch?
Like right now, Braveheart is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah, well, the action stuff in that is extremely well done.
Well done.
Especially the big battles with the big armies, and then cutting to.
And a friend of mine did it, and I'd ask him, because I was doing another, and he called me after I did Knight's Tale. He said he did great. I called him after that because remember the horses, and they were coming and they flipped.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those were mechanical horses, but you would never known it.
No, you'd never know.
You're on a roller, and it came in, boom.
Right.
Yeah. No, they looked amazing.
Good. And when I did We Were Soldiers, I asked Mel about that, and they really liked that. So
yeah.
I was happy to get a chance to work with Mel Gibson.
And where did they shoot We Were Soldiers? Where was that actually filmed?
That was shot up in the middle of California by the coast. It's called Fort Hunter Liggett, and it's about 200 miles north of Los Angeles.
Right, doubling.
And we shot some in Georgia at a real fort.
Right.
So
wow. So the stuff on the ground, because I know you directed most of the action in that.
Most,
that
80% of it.
Yeah. So the stuff on the ground, you're telling me that was all shot in California?
Yeah, isn't that something?
Did they?
Not in Vietnam.
Did they plant?
What they did they went to Vietnam.
Yeah.
They took pictures of the hillside and stuff they wanted. And then they went to this Fort Hunter Liggett, which is by Paso Robles, which is on the coast side. And they brought in tons of bushes, plants. They did probably $1 million worth of plants and stuff.
Wow.
And gave it, And
that's how they did it.
That's how they did it.
So you say you directed 85% of the action sequences. That really surprises me. I mean, it's fantastic, but I just assumed that the director of the movie is doing all that. Why is it that they?
You have to see this, Matt. There's a lot of helicopter work. There's a lot of shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
We crashed a helicopter. You remember that?
Yeah.
Going around and around and dropped it. All that takes a lot of time. We had to crane it up, and then light it on fire and have it come down and hit. All that shoot 'em up. And that's where I have the guys. You see the bullets coming out of the helicopter real close up. Awesome. The one shot I got of Mel is when they were running up at the end, and I shot that part.
Oh, nice.
Because there's just too much to shoot. They're doing dialogue.
Right. Yes.
When they're doing dialogue, I'm doing action.
Right.
I might have other actors. That's just the way in football. When they're inside the locker room with the actors, I'm outside shooting football.
Yeah.
So that all works.
What I remember so much about We Were Soldiers was how visceral all that action was. I mean, I saw it at the cinema, and it was just like, wow, this is a really visceral action you're in there in the battle with them. And again, that's that. I had no idea that was your direction.
Okay,
So
I'm going to tell you something, Matt. The guy who wrote it, I can't remember. Anyways,
Randall Wallace.
Randall Wallace.
Well, Randall Wallace wrote it, but it was from the guy that was there.
Oh, from the book, yeah.
From the book.
From the book. And that guy was there, and there was a couple of them that were in that battle, and they would stand behind me and watch what I shot. And I said, "Does this look like what you did?" He goes, "They were crying sometimes." They said,
Wow.
"Yes, Alan, that's unbelievable." So I had to shoot it right. And I had those guys telling me, "That looks odd. Yeah, that reminds me. Yeah, I lost a friend there. Yeah, great. Oh, man.
Man,
So
that's amazing.
That's why it turned out like that, because they would,
That's right.
they would say, "Alan, didn't look like that. Let me tell you what, I would change." You got to be able to listen to people, you know?
Absolutely. Well, that's
The
just
one
a
thing
credit.
I found out years ago is I don't want to be the smartest guy on the set.
Yeah, exactly. No. But that's a good director, I think, is one that doesn't have the ego, that you can hear feedback and go, "Oh, that's what it was," and then you direct it to be better. And that's the sign of a great director, I think, is that you can take the feedback and you can adapt and change. And you're right. You always want to surround yourself with better people. Surround yourself with better people than yourself.
That's right. And I used to learn a lot before I started directing. I asked questions. I'd go up to a cameraman and I'd say, "Hey, why are you using that lens? What are you doing this? Why are you using that speed? What do you do?" And the good thing is, being a USC in Southern California, they knew who I was, that I was an ex-football player, and they would talk to me because they liked that, you know. So they wouldn't just stuff me off, you know. But I got a lot of homework and learning with those guys. And then when I started working with Walter Hill, and I was tight with Walter, they'd always want to help me. Why are you doing that? What are you doing this for? And I learned a lot from doing that.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's the best film school in the world, right? Getting out there and doing it.
Yeah. The book for We Were Soldiers was written by Hal Moore himself and Joseph Galloway. Hal Moore
just, I think, passed away or something.
He's no longer with us.
Those guys were really good, and I mean, you could feel their pain there. I mean, to remember all that, it was. I'm telling you, that's scary. How scary is that? And then when we shot all that fire, you know, the jets coming over and burn, I had to make sure my stunt guys were saying it was real, because they lit them on fire from that. You know?
That's amazing.
Were any of the actors close to any of that stuff in the
Absolutely not.
No, they were well out of
intense heat. The crew and the camera guys had to wear outfits. The heat was on so much.
Wow.
Right.
And how scary is that when all those guys were sitting there in that circle and the Viet Cong were blowing whistles coming at them?
Yeah, I remember.
Waiting and waiting. How would you like to have been one of those guys?
And they called down the artillery like right on top of them, pretty much. And that was referred to as the Lost Platoon.
Yeah.
Those guys. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that well.
And I shot a lot of helicopter to helicopter, all the stuff from looking down on it. It's just it was so much work. Yeah.
Did you shoot the scene where the helicopters soar down into the valley? They do that really steep arc. There's like a line of them. It's right.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That's an incredible shot. I always remembered that shot, and that was the only time I'd ever seen helicopters in a Vietnam film perform that kind of maneuver, going into that steep angle, going into deploy a lot of troops.
I'll have to tell you a funny story real quick.
Oh, go for it.
So we're we're mapping the earth on a helicopter, and we're going up and down. And my cameraman, handheld camera, he's looking out the door. We're in Huey's and going like that. and all of a sudden he threw up and it came all over me.
Crikey.
I said, get this helicopter down. Good God. He goes, I'm sorry, Alan. I'm sorry. That's okay. Let's.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I've never been in a helicopter, so I don't know how my stomach would handle it. But some of the maneuvers you pulled off on there, I'm not surprised that that happened. I think we're getting into the last 15 minutes here, Alan. So we'll wrap up fairly soon because I know you've got a busy day ahead of you. So we'll do our last few questions. One of mine, I guess I'd like to ask two things. One is, well, first of all, if you look back at all the films you've done, and I mean, God, it's a big list. And I've even seen some of the obscure ones like the Fourth War, which I think you did stunt coordination on, which was nearly all shot in the snow.
That was the Fourth War. Yeah, Jürgen Prochnow and Scheider. That
was at a film festival over in the UK, and I got to see it at the cinema. And it was kind of a film that came and went and disappeared that almost nobody saw, but it was actually a really interesting kind of, two commanders reliving their Cold War rivalry and anger. But
I shot that in Calgary, Canada, in the Calgary Rockies, and the director was a great director. He won an Academy Award for Grand Prix. It's he escapes my mind right now, but he's no longer with us. But he was a very famous director.
I'll get his name.
And that was very tough conditions. I had two guys fighting down a snow big mountain, and halfway down, the film snapped because it was so cold.
Oh, damn.
And I had to tell the guys, hey, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to do it again. Oh my God.
That's and I guess that's one of the benefits of digital is
we didn't have it.
You don't have to worry about the film snapping. But I mean,
snapping in the gate.
Looking back on all the stuff you've worked on, is there one film that you've worked on that you've been to see at the cinema and you thought, God, I'm really glad I worked on this. This is a great, not just my work, but the whole film is great and it lived up to your expectations from the script. Would you have a standout choice for that? Maybe more than one even.
Well, two of them I would say, and that's A Knight's Tale and Another 48 Hours. To be able to do something that no one else had ever done in Hollywood is a big deal, as you know. Yeah. And that does stand out. Not only that, Walter was very excited because I did stunts that no one had ever done before. We tried. This was one of them, but the other one, if you saw it, we drove two motorcycles through a theater screen and then came down in the theater and ran out. I mean,
yep.
We did awesome shot. And then I made this shot where Eddie Murphy beats the guy and he falls out the window and he's falling, and there's a water truck down there. You remember that scene?
Yeah.
And you see him and you're seeing him go all the way down. There's no airbag because we did it with cables.
Right.
And he hits, and I put two water cannons in. When he hit, the water just goes.
Right.
So we did stuff like that, and everybody goes, wow, those are awesome shots. How do you get it? We just took our time and made sure. And no one had ever done those kind of shots. Where have you seen that,
Yeah.
You're looking down and you're going, where's the airbag? Where's the airbag? He came down and he stopped 2 feet from the water truck.
That's amazing.
And then I got a dummy and I drop a 300-pound dummy on the glass. Boom.
Nice. That's great.
And of all the actors that you've worked with, and that's a very long list of extremely big names, who would you say was the most memorable on set?
Nick Nolte was good. I like Nick Nolte. I don't know. There's so many, Lance. I can't even think of them.
It's hard to pick one.
Well, you work with some real legends like Nick Nolte, Powers Booth. I mean, what was Powers Booth like as a guy? I mean, such an intense actor. You just think, wow, what must he be like in real life?
He was a nice man. He's great.
Yeah, they usually are.
He had a tough deal because he did something so good that no one could give him out. But he did Jimmy Jones. You remember the Jimmy Jones story?
Yeah, he did it. He did like a TV. It did a TV movie.
He couldn't get out of that character. He was a dead ringer for him, and everybody couldn't believe it. And they said, "Hell, shit, he's never going to work again." That killed him. Well, it didn't, but that was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was cast as bad guys for quite a while. And by the way, the director of the Fourth War was John Frankenheimer.
John Frankenheimer, I just couldn't.
Yeah, that's it.
And he was a great director.
One camera, but he was tough. He was a tough guy. I had to put. If you remember it, they fought in a frozen river.
Yeah,
helicopters. But what I had to do is I had to cut a hole in the ice and put a fence underneath. So when they fall, they don't float underneath the ice. Just getting that done was brutal.
Yeah.
And so I had to watch it, and I took a class in hypothermia. What is it called?
Hypothermia?
Hypothermic conditions.
Hypothermia. And we bought a trailer out close to where we were shooting, and I had a bathtub, but I couldn't do hot water. I had to use like lukewarm water, and I had Hudson sprayers. These guys were wearing dry suits, which you wear in Alaska when you go diving. And when I put them in there, they're okay. But the minute their head goes underwater, it's all different.
Right. Wow. So I bet it would be.
I had to watch, and I counted 20 seconds, 25 seconds. Then I had to stop, get them out, go do it again. And then I had to get the actors in there. And that's really what concerned me, And we had to shoot Hudson sprayers down their vests. I mean,
how did Roy Schneider and Jürgen Prochnow handle that?
They got along together good. They knew they had to do this. But
they were up for it.
I didn't keep them in long. Believe me.
I'm sure you didn't. John Frankenheimer actually directed. I know it's a favorite of yours as well, Matt. He directed that American Civil War movie called Andersonville, the one about the prison. If you've never seen it, Alan, you should, and you like your American Civil War history stuff, you should definitely check out that film. It kind of came and went, and a lot of people never saw it, but it's all set in a southern prisoner of war camp during the American Civil War, and I actually think that's one of Frankenheimer's best movies.
I'll have to check it out.
I'll drop you the link for it. Matt, any final questions for Alan before we let him embark on his private jet to Montana?
Sure. I'm not going to Wednesday.
What it's been amazing for me, Alan, is that your characters on screen are so that I've seen, like LA Confidential and Deadwood. Is your character? You came across as such an intense person. I often wondered, what must this actor be like in real life, because he seems so scary and intense, but then here you're the nicest guy in the world. And for me, that's a credit to you as an actor. You just came across so scary in those films.
Well, I appreciate that, Matt. Yeah, I think I learned something from Dick Butkus years ago, because Dick Butkus was a ferocious middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears, and he was really nasty. But if he was sitting right here, he's the nicest guy, a devout Catholic, and very introverted. Didn't talk much, and that's it. So he says, I don't have to show how tough I am. You see it.
Yeah.
So it's the same with me. And most times I take, that for granted, but I just got into the character. I think it was Heath Ledger told me, not Heath Ledger, what's his name?
Russell Crowe.
The brothers, three brothers in Long Riders.
Oh,
Carradine. Keith
Carradine.
Carradine said to me, yeah, that was a lot of fun, all those brothers.
Yeah.
But Keith Carradine said, Allan, he says, you're good. He says, you're doing the right thing. I said, do you think I need acting lessons? No. You go in there, they'll change you. He says, you just be yourself. Whatever you are, be yourself in that moment. If you're a cop, you're a cowboy, you're a fireman, you're, a husband, be yourself, and it's going to come off real. And that's all I try to do, is be that guy and be real. So you believe me, whatever I'm doing, I just try to be that guy.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice, and I think Carradine was absolutely right, because
he was.
Yeah, and it's paid off. And and look, for me, it was fantastic to learn about the stuff that you directed, and even iconic shots that I can recall, knowing that was your work. I mean, that's
okay, Matt. Well, when should I come and work with you?
Mate, I would have you come and work for me as soon as I get the budget to do it, mate. I'll come in. I need a good second unit for that sort of thing. So hopefully I get the opportunity. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, I think, Matt, the guy who directed Danger Close, which was the Australian Vietnam movie that came out I think a couple of years ago.
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Battle of Long Tan, and they didn't have a big budget for that, but they did a pretty good job, I thought.
Yeah, where Australia we never really get the big budgets down here for those sorts of things, but we
what do you do
our best.
What do you do, like $1 million, 2 million, 3 million?
Yeah, look, in Australia, that's sort of the budget. But look, in Australia, if you get anything above 10 million, a budget over 10 million, you're doing really well in Australia. So, it's only really the big American films that come out here that have big money. So, we've still got a ways to go in Australia.
Yeah, and the big money productions in the UK are usually co-productions with the States. So it's and
I'm a little disappointed, because the people in London and stuff won't let American stuntmen go there, but they can come here and work. So it's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's different, So
right.
Only if they have to get the director has to sign his life away. Hey, I want this guy, and this guy's coming with me.
Right.
Before they let him go, let him come in.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, I'm quite happy to fight to get you in, Allan, if I ever get that budget. So don't worry about that.
Well, let's do it. Don't wait too.
I asked you to come on and give an interview with us, and I'm so glad that you did. And you're not only you're a lovely guy, but your insight into the filmmaking process. I know you've given away a few little secrets, nothing too major.
Yeah, don't be telling everybody about those secrets.
No.
I'll remember the spaghetti I gotta watch an ice again and look for the spaghetti.
Well, that wasn't my idea. That was actually an English special effects guy. I can't remember, but he came up with it, and I said, wow, that's awesome. It was we wanted to drill because we wanted splinters. So I'm not going to take full responsibility, but it was great.
So if the Allan Graf that you are now could give one piece of advice to the 1970s, just starting out in the business, Allan Graf, what would you have said to him?
I mean, if someone wanted to be a stuntman right now?
Well, I guess if your older self could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice about coming into the industry, what would you say?
Be a producer. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not a bad piece of advice.
Well, that's not bad, but you know what? You have to do what you think is right, and you can't BS people. The worst job in this business is to say you can do something, and then you go out and you fail. You're dead. You're dead as a doornail. Just be honest. If you don't know, say you don't know if you can, but give it a college try. But never say, yeah, I could do that. We've had some people die because they say they could do something and they didn't do it. And it's horrible. A woman falling backwards, and she pushed off too much and hit the wall on the other side and was killed. You just got to make sure that you know what you're doing and be honest, because it goes to, how fast in this business, how things go. If you do something wrong, oh man, look at that. So I wanted to make sure that every time I did something, I knew I could do it.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing. Absolutely. Honesty, no BS. It's a good thing to carry through.
Yeah, the people on our chat stream, by the way, Alan just said thank you so much for coming on. Brilliant stream. And I'll give them the final question because one of them's just asked, which stunt have you seen on film that you've admired the most that wasn't one that you were involved in? That where you've gone, wow, that was great, I guess.
One that's pretty visual was Batman, and the semi truck goes over forward.
Yeah.
And that was a good friend of mine, and he was in the bus when I flipped it, but not when I was in it, but he was one of the prisoners in the back, and he told me that day, I'm going to do something that's going to beat this gag, Alan. You did a great job. And he flipped that semi, but forward. Did you remember that?
That was the Christian Bale Batman, right?
Yeah, Dark Knight Rises. That was in the Dark Knight.
And I said to him, I guess you beat me, Jim. His name was Jim. And I said, I guess you beat me. That's a pretty good stunt. So I would say that's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
It's always
that,
nice.
But absolutely. But look, if someone has to flip a truck forward to beat you, that's you're in a good place.
I'll flip another bus anytime, you know. I did it
Just
twice.
give you the chance.
Yeah, well, I did it already in another movie too.
There you go, Matt. You know you can write that into your next script now.
I can. Yep, that's it. I know a guy who could flip a bus. Excellent.
Right. Well, look, Alan, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for coming on, and me and Matt will just do a quick wrap up before we sign off. But I really do appreciate your time, because I know as you get older, time is a very, very, very precious commodity for us all, and we never get to see all the people we want. So to have you come on and chat to us for the best part of 2 hours.
Well, I had fun. It's always fun reminiscing about the old stuff, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I wasn't
absolutely
dull.
No, not at all.
You're another person that we know we can come to for advice, and just want to wish you luck on your next shoot, and you know, do stay in touch, and I'll you've got me on your Facebook.
Yeah, stay in touch, and if you want to do it again, and I'm available, I'll do it again. There's more. Hey, well, there's a lot more movies we didn't talk about.
Oh yeah, I think we scraped the surface.
Yeah, there's a few on my list. We didn't get to Roadhouse. We didn't get to Johnny Handsome.
You didn't get to Wild Bill. You didn't get to, you know.
No, that's right.
Yeah, there's. I mean, and you even had a death scene in Wrath of Khan, which is another film I've got the vinyl soundtrack for behind me. But look, Allan Graf, thanks so much.
Okay.
For my independent filmmakers watching, Alan is still available for work. He is still working at the ripe old age of so if you want to give Alan some work or get him on to be your coordinator or second unit director, he's more than willing. So, you know,
I travel.
He travels, and he doesn't have to go first class. Business is fine.
Right.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys, thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, take care.
I'll take you out.
Matt,
thanks a lot, Alan.
Thank you, lad. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. Adios.
Take care. Bye. Okay, so I'll just take Alan out there, and I don't need to submit a report to saying we kicked him. So we just about got that to work, despite the various technical issues that we had there, Matt. But obviously, StreamYard, I could have put a lot of pictures up and stuff a lot more easily, and banners and things as we were talking about the different films. But what a fantastic guest, eh?
Absolutely. What a great guy. And so many wonderful stories from, you know, iconic movies. So yeah, what a treasure trove of information he is.
So before we sign off, I just want to remind people that got another retro review this weekend, and Matt is my co-host, and we're talking about, and I think I've got it here. We just I do. We're going to be once again, I have the vinyl soundtrack. So on Sunday, 9 p.m. UK time, we're going to be talking about Silverado. And
absolutely.
This is, by the way, this is not a UK print. This is an American import, because there used to be a shop called 48 Dean Street Records. It's gone now. That just did soundtracks. Didn't do anything else, and they imported them from all over the world. But they also had the UK releases. and I got a UK release of Silverado, which had the UK poster, the kind of the orangey one.
Yeah, that's what I thought it would be.
But it had 2 massive scratches on the record, and I took it back.
No.
And the only one they had was this, which was the American import, was double the price. And the guy just said, you can just have that one because I was such a regular customer there. So I got this. So this is an American import. And I actually prefer it because it's such a great photo of the four actors. So we're going to be talking all things Silverado, and you've just rewatched it.
Yes, it's great to revisit. So yeah, lots of things to say about that. So
well,
yeah,
Matt,
can't wait to talk shop.
Thanks for getting up at 4:30 in the morning in Australia to do this stream, which definitely is above and beyond the Call of Duty. But I'm really glad that you did, because I always like having a co-host. Have you got anything you want to plug quickly before we sign off? What you got coming out? I know you got the Cost, which has done some great work with little festivals and things. Is there anything more happening with that film?
Look, we're just waiting on the to get to a sale in Australia, to get a streaming service to take it on board, and then we can release the trailer. So we've been sitting on the trailer for a few months now, and we're desperate to release it because we really want to, get people pumped and excited for it for the public. But yeah, it's a bit of a hold up. I don't really know what it is. So that
would be great if they could just get the trailer online to get interest. That would be nice.
Well, that was the plan, but we want to. There's an Australian streamer that we're hoping will take it, and so they don't want to release the trailer before they've said yes or no, because if they release the trailer and then they turn around and say, yeah, we want it, then we really want their weight behind it. You know what I mean?
And so I know you're in post-production on another film at the minute, but you probably can't say too much about that right now.
No, not really. No, that's in post, in edit, but it's sort of deep in the very much deep. Not going to be released for a long time yet. So
right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, great to have you on again. Looking forward to doing some other streams with you where we chew the fat on some of our older favorite movies. So that's Silverado coming up at 9 o'clock. Listen, guys, those of you that tuned in and you asked questions, thanks a lot. I know the stream was probably a bit hard to find because I thought I was going to be able to run a dual stream, but that couldn't happen. So I'll recorrect all the advertising and stuff for that in a sec. But really great stream. So grateful for Allan and Matt coming on. And I've got more industry interviews coming up. And don't forget, I do a wrap up every Wednesday of all the films and shows that I've done. I was a bit poorly for that the other day, but I'm going to keep doing them every week. And I will see you